moving on along here. Wonderful, wonderful work here from the Refuge Band. Our next individual that we are going to be coming forward here is Captain Adam Meyers. He's a captain of the police department in the Hartford Township. He has been a police officer for 23 years and a veteran of the United States military, where he served as a military police officer. The critical incident while on duty involved having to use a fatal force. This took Adam into a spiral of mental illness and poor coping skills. He now continues as a police officer, a certified peer specialist, and he uses his personal and professional experience to support others through their own mental health struggles. He advocates for breaking the stigma about mental health, and he wants people to come forward and heal. He also is an author, Take Back Your Power. His website is called Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma, and his YouTube site is called Responder Resilience. Adam is encouraging first responders, medical personnel, and others to open up and do not remain silent about their mental illness and poor coping skills, and for all of us to reach out to those in need. Many do not seek the help they may desperately need, and you could shine the light in their darkest time. Welcome, Captain Adam Meyers.
Maybe wondering why I have a piece of black duct tape across my mouth with some handcuffs on. It's okay to talk about your mental health. You're not alone. Please don't suffer in silence. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing today. Emmy, PJ, and I will be speaking about mental health and our experiences. But usually when you see somebody in handcuffs, what do you think? Somebody did something wrong. A lot of people think when they're struggling with mental health that they can't reach out because of that stigma. Because, hey, I must be doing something wrong, so they're help, but they're not going to. We take those handcuffs off and we reach out for help. Now, I have a lot of things typed up, and I'm just going to let God speak for me. Let's speak from the heart, and I'm going to share my experience with you. Before I do that, I just want to let you know, everybody has a different life. Everybody has different traumas, different experiences. So when we start talking about that, if you're triggered and you need to leave, that's okay. This is anxious for me too. It's a little triggering for me too, but that's okay. So if you feel that and you have to leave, go ahead and leave. But please let somebody know that you need to go. We don't want you to walk away if you need support, if you need help. Okay. My name's Adam Meyers. I've been a police officer for 23 years. Currently a captain of police with the Hartford Township Police Department. Yes, the township has a police department. A lot of people know of us because of our lake patrol, but we have an actual police department. It's smaller than the city of Hartford, but we actually have an actual police department. On April 8th, 2016, I was involved in a critical incident when I used deadly force on someone who had armed themselves with a hatchet and started our Walmart store in Lake Allen, which is in Chippewa County. Now, I was sitting at the police department. I was working a normal shift from 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. I was sitting inside the police department, and I was typing up a retail theft report from Shopko. And I got dispatched to Walmart. And it wasn't a very emergent call. It was just somebody refusing to leave. Her name was Melissa, and she was struggling with mental health challenges as well. She was a client at the Northern Center in Chippewa Falls. It's a state mental health facility, and she received a pass, I believe, a good behavior pass to go out and be outside the facility. So she left with two of her chaperones. They went to Culver's, got something to eat, and went over to Walmart. Now, when the chaperones told Melissa it was time to leave, she refused to leave, and that's when one of the chaperones dialed 911. Initially, it was a 911 hang-up call. Dispatch called them back and basically said, "You need some help?" And they said, "Well, yeah, one of our clients from the Northern Center is refusing to leave. She's walking back towards the sporting goods section. We need some help." So I responded. Not a big deal. We do that all the time. We respond to retail stores, to restaurants, to houses, you name it. Show up, usually see the police and, okay, yeah, we'll leave. While I responded, grabbed my laptop, walked out the back of the police department, jumped in my squad car. Walmart was about 2 non-emergent just started driving that way. Well, dispatch kept them on the line, and it became more and more emergent. Melissa started walking towards the sporting goods section, and that's when she ripped open a hatchet from the packaging and started threatening customers and damaging merchandise. So initially they told me she was in possession of a knife. Not that that's any less dangerous, but I was thinking, you know, a pocket knife like a lot of us may carry or have at home, just as a regular kind of tool to cut things open. So when I heard that, it became more and more emergent. I turned on my lights and sirens, and I started literally flying to Walmart. I remember pulling into the parking lot. When I pulled into the parking lot, you know, it was Friday, April 8th, 2016, 5:15 p.m. Busy day, busy night. Everybody was in the store. Hundreds of people were in the store. It's a Friday. People were buying groceries or getting stuff ready for the weekend. Nobody would get out of the way. I remember driving in, lights and sirens, here's the police car, and everybody's kind of like walking like, oh, look at the cop car, that's cool. You know, and I'm thinking, I probably said a few choice words. My spot camera probably picked it up. I just couldn't believe nobody would move out of the way. Now, initially, I was going to respond through the auto center because a lot of Walmarts are set up the same. So I was going to respond to the auto center because Melissa was back in the sporting goods section. I think if I could just make contact with her back there, I can isolate her back there, keep her away from everybody, keep everybody safe, disarm her, everything would be okay. But then dispatch said she's walking towards the front of the store. So that kind of shot everything, no pun intended. But, you know, Walmart has two separate entrances, the grocery entrance and the general merchandise entrance. So I figured that was probably the best bet. I pulled up to the general merchandise entrance. I turned my sirens off, and I left my red and blue lights going, and I parked right in front of the door because I was hoping if anybody else was coming to Walmart that they would see my police car and think, maybe I shouldn't go in that door. That didn't work. People were still coming and going. So I exited my patrol vehicle, drew my weapon because I had no idea where she was. She could have been right there in the vestibule. I walked in and I saw a man and a woman standing there, and I'm like, where is she? And I kind of related to, if you ever watched The Wizard of Oz, how the scarecrow is pointing this way and that way. I just remember them saying she's down there. So I ran down where she was. She was in the main aisle near the health and beauty aisle in the lawn and garden. When I first saw her, her back was facing towards me. I gave her multiple verbal commands. Turn around, she did, and that's when I saw the hatchet. And I'm thinking, that's not good. She started advancing towards me. I had my weapon pointed towards her. I gave her multiple verbal commands to stop, to drop the hatchet. She didn't do that, and I ended up shooting twice. One round went in and out of her leg. The other round went kind of in this area, in the sternum, and she fell to the ground. Hours later, after surgery, Melissa died. I didn't know that until the following day, but everything seemed surreal. I knew what was happening, but everything seemed surreal. There's a lot of things I don't remember. I watched body camera footage. I watched cameras. Walmart has tons of cameras. I'm like, yeah, that's me, but I don't remember doing that, but that's what I was trained to do. So that's why training is so important, no matter what job you're in. You might have to work a third shift and then stay up all day and go to training. That's like, gosh, you know, you got to move the kids around and daycare and all this other stuff, and you don't want to do it, but training's important. So I was taken away from Walmart back to the police department, and all kinds of attorneys, everybody started showing up, and I wanted to talk. I'm like, and they're like, no, you're not saying anything unless you're asked, you know. So once I was cleared from Walmart, I was still in uniform, no weapon. They took my weapon, and they said, you can go home. So I hopped in my squad and drove home. I couldn't tell you the route I took. I lived in that community. I probably could figure which way I took home, but I don't remember it. The next thing I remember is reaching up in my visor and calling my mom and dad. Lake Haley is about 3.5, 4 hours away in Chippewa County. I wanted to call them right away and let them know what had happened because I didn't want social media to let them know. I didn't want the news to let them know. So I let them know, and then I drove home. Pulled in my driveway, and the first thing I did was walk into my house. I knelt down next to my love seat, and I prayed to God that Melissa wouldn't die. Well, she did. And boy, was I pissed off the next day. The next day came, my chief called me. You know, it was a weekend. I had the weekend off because of what happened. So I figured I'm going to go get my hair cut because I get it every week. You know, got to keep it clean, got to look good, right? So I get it every week, and my chief called me and said, when can you come in and see me? And I said, well, I'm gonna go get my haircut and pick up my daughters, and then I'll come see you. And he said, I didn't want to tell you this over the phone, but Melissa died. And the reason why he did that is because he didn't want me to find out through social media. He didn't want me to find out through text messages from somebody else. So I appreciate that. But when I got off the phone, I thought, this changes everything. I killed somebody. And through the investigation, I found out that at the time Melissa had a 6-year-old daughter. I have 2 daughters who are grown now, but at the time they were young. So that played a role in how I would slowly start going downhill from there. I was able to see the chief that day, and he told me we're going to get ahead of this. We're going to release all this information to the media. I was probably thinking of a million things, but the only thing I was super important about was my police department photo because I thought it was my fact. You know, I had like the turkey neck, and I knew if he released that, that was going to be on the internet forever. And that's the only thing I was worried about was my fat police picture. But I started struggling. I suffered in silence for many, many years. This is a tactical vest that police officers commonly wear. You may see them, and this is a patch. You can put different patches on. So some of the things that I coped negatively is alcohol, casual sex, and drugs, marijuana. And when I say alcohol, I abused alcohol. I just didn't have a shot of whiskey. I just didn't have a 6-pack of beer. I would make my own cocktails. Right here is a simulated wine glass. And what I would do is I would grab NyQuil, or I would also grab Z-Quil, or anything I could put in this wine glass and make a cocktail out of it. One time I even reached into the medicine cabinet, my oldest daughter, Cindy Marie's cough medicine that had codeine in it. I didn't care. I wanted to numb what I was feeling. I wanted to numb what I was thinking. I didn't care. I was looking for the next quick fix. Here's a 750 milliliter bottle of vodka. I would drink this in 30 minutes or less and sleep my day away on the couch. I was a drunk. I didn't care. So another thing that I would do is casual sex. I would go online and I would meet women for sex. It was agreed, it was just feel good, you know, sex to me feels good, it's playful, it's fun, it's exciting, it's something you're supposed to share with somebody special. I didn't care. Sometimes within 30 minutes or less, we were having sex. There was one time I was laying in bed with a woman after we had had sex, and we were snuggling, and I'm thinking, you got to stop this now. I started not liking who I was. And it's something I'm still shameful for and feel guilty for, but that was the reality, and I did that for years. That didn't make anything better. It caused more stress, more depression, more anxiety, because I was worried, what if I get her pregnant? What if I catch an STD? But still, that wasn't enough for me to stop. So I continued to do that. Another thing that I did is I tried marijuana for the first time. All my life, I prided myself in never doing any kind of drugs. A lot of people say, marijuana, that's not a big deal. So what? It is to me. I even remember when I was going, there's something called the meth station before you go into the military, and I was there, and some of the officers were like, have you ever done marijuana? And I'm thinking, no. And they're like, mm-hmm. You could tell they didn't believe me. But I prided myself in that. I prided myself that I had never done drugs. I didn't care. I smoked marijuana and I tried a gummy because I was looking for the next thing to numb my feelings, to make things go away. And it did nothing but cause more stress, more anxiety. So I do take medicine. Lexapro, 20 milligrams. I wake up in the morning, I go to the bathroom, I pop a pill, and I hit the ground. And that's okay. It helps me. Medicine helps me. So I'm going to continue to take that as long as it continues to help me, and it does. Another thing that I do is I see a therapist. Every Monday, 5 p.m., I'm sitting on the couch talking to my therapist. Every week. Well, unless we have board meetings at the town, then I'm there instead, but then I reschedule. It's important to do that. I remember the first time I went to the clinic for Christian counseling up north. And I started seeing a counselor for the first time. And I was the first shooting in the history of the police department. I don't think anybody really knew what to do. I just figured I'd go to a counselor and things would work out. Things would be fine. If I just talk it out, it'd be fine. I didn't know that they had counselors that specialized in trauma and first responder trauma and other kinds of mental health. So I would go, and the first 45 minutes, the first time I went, I was like, this is great, it feels good. But when I left, I'm like, she has no idea what I'm going through. That was a complete freaking waste of time. I'm not going back. So I would go for a couple weeks and take a couple months off. Then go for the summer, then take the winter off. And then eventually I just stopped going altogether because I thought I could take care of it myself. I could do it. I didn't need a counselor. Are you kidding me? I'm a cop. I don't need that BS. But I was wrong. I needed help. I really, truly needed help. And it's okay to ask. So one of the things that happened to me was, I promise I'll pick those up. One of the things that happened to me was December 28th, 2021. I was in an active shooter training at an elementary school. I don't know if are these connected. Oh, no, great. All right. So I was sitting in a chair comfortably just like this, and we were watching a PowerPoint. And we started talking about all the different active shooters that occurred around the United States and even overseas. And they were talking about active shooters that happened in April. So that triggered me. They kept saying April, April, April. I started feeling really hot, really uncomfortable, a knot in my stomach, and about a minute passed, and I reached up to my forehead, and it was drenched in water. I was having a panic attack. And there was probably about 20 or 30 other police officers there. They all knew me. They all knew what I went through. If I would have just raised my hand and said, I can't be here, I need to go home. I just can't do this training. It would have been okay. But what stopped me from doing that? The stigma associated with it. I need to fight through this, okay? I can't let anybody know what I'm going through. I have to fight through it, not let anybody know, even though it would have been okay. And I did. I fought through it, completed the training, went on my 2 days off. I was a detective at the time, but for New Year's Eve, I worked a uniform shift, and I got back in my squad at 11 o'clock, same time my shift started the day of my shooting, and I sat down and I said, you know what? I'm done. Forget it. I quit. I ain't doing this. And I don't think I wanted to stop being a cop. I just think I wanted to stop coping because it wasn't working for me no more. You know, it takes so much energy to cope that way. So I reached out to my sergeant. I said, I need you to come with me to the chief. We're going to talk to the chief. I'm done. I'm quitting. I ain't doing this no more. So he came in and sat in my squad. He goes, hold up, Adam. No, I'll come with you, but you're not quitting. You're not quitting. So we went and talked to the chief. Very supportive. He sent me home. Chief said, okay, take some time, reach out, let me know when you're ready to come back to work. And I did that. I think it was about 2 weeks, and I said, Chief, I'm ready to come back to work. And he said, in order for you to come back to work, you've got to go have a fitness for duty test, psychological evaluation. And I was okay with that because I had started speaking about my mental health and my critical incident in 2019. So I was a strong advocate. Yeah, sure, let's go. This is a piece of cake. I'm going to go back to work on the farm. I scheduled the psychological eval, and it was from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. And when I'm driving there, I'm thinking, I'm going to lie. I'm going to lie. I can beat this thing. This is a waste of time. I don't need to do this. This is just a technicality. I'll lie and beat this test and be back to work. And when I got there, I sat in the waiting room and I thought to myself, you know what, Adam, the only way that you're going to get better is if you're honest. You have to be honest. And that's what I chose to do. I chose to be honest about my mental health. I chose to be honest about all the testing that I had. And after that, I received a psychological evaluation. I was unfit for duty. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, PTSD, acute stress with dissociative features, and I could not go back to work. I remember reading this, and I started crying. And I started crying because inside this evaluation were answers to all the questions and everything I was going through for years. So I saw this as, hey, let's get better. Everything in here is about me. trouble with relationships, can't have a relationship, antisocial. I'm like, that's me. So what do I got to do to get better? So I requested a 90-day leave of absence through the police department, and it was approved through the police department and the police association. And I was seeing a therapist for 2-3 times a week. Now I did everything from EMDR to DBT to biofeedback to talk therapy. It was great. I was feeling better. I was feeling like $1 million. I was getting better because I finally put myself first. Finally told myself, Adam, it's okay to talk about your mental health. It's okay to get help. And now I was doing it. Now at that time, during those 90-day leave of absence, I actually was put on a safety plan because in this evaluation there were some suicidal ideations. And that's okay. It's difficult when you're going through it. For years I had always been with people who needed to be put on a safety plan. Now it was me, and it's different when it's you compared to somebody else. It's always different whatever you're going through if it's you, instead of somebody else. Another thing that I struggled with is when I was put on the safety plan, a few weeks later, a sergeant came out to my house, gave me a cease and desist order to immediately stop speaking about my personal testimonies related to my shooting and my mental health because it made the police department look bad. If I didn't stop, I'd be disciplined or I'd be terminated. It scared the hell out of me. I had been speaking since 2019, helping people, doing what I'm doing now, and now I get this order, you better knock it up, you better shut up, or we're going to discipline you and fire you. So I did, I stopped. I shut my website down, I did all that stuff. Then the chief reached out to me and said, let's have a meeting. I went in there, and he said, we're not extending your leave of absence. You can either resign, or you will be terminated. And I thought about it, and I said, this is work-related. I'm not quitting. So I was terminated. Will they admit that I was terminated because of mental health? No. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. I had been there for 14 years. I had never been disciplined. I had never been suspended. I received medals. I received awards. I did a good job. I was the first detective of the department. Things are good. But I just couldn't believe that they terminated me. I remember walking out of the police department with that same sergeant, and the last thing he told me was, hey, maybe you can speak more now that you don't work here. And I'm thinking, is that what this is all about? Is it because I'm talking about my mental health and I'm so transparent? As you can see today, I don't sugarcoat nothing. And this is only a little bit of what I'm really comfortable talking about. So I remember hopping in my Jeep and driving out of the parking lot thinking, what next? What if I would have went home and killed myself? All my life I wanted to be a cop. All my life I wanted to be a cop. As far back as I can remember, I was a little boy in Racine, Wisconsin, born and raised in Racine, and that's actually where I started being a cop. But I lived on Highway 20 in Washington Avenue, and I would run up to the window every time I would see or hear a siren, and I'd see a police car, and fire engines and ambulances. But I wanted to see a cop car. And when I would see a cop car, I'd look at my parents and I'd be like, an car. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And my parents said the first time I saw a police officer get out of an car, I looked at them and said, I want to be an car man. When I grow up, I want to be an car man. So that's what I did. I took significant steps, everything I needed to do to stay out of trouble, joined the military, was a military police in the Army, did everything, got my degree, everything. Was lucky enough to get hired by the city of Racine where it all started. I still remember driving down next to the county building, looking at those big mirrored windows, and I'm like, wow, I'm really doing it. So all my life I wanted to be an car man, a police officer. And I was just terminated from that job for what? For doing my job, for stopping the threat. Somebody was coming after me with a hatchet, and I shot her. I did not want to kill her. I didn't know that everything that I went through would lead me here today. Guy and I had some pretty bad conversations. I was pretty upset with him. There was many times I went to bed and I'm like, God, please don't let me wake up. I don't want to go through this. But I went through hell to be here. I truly believe that this is a journey that God wants me to be in. I also truly believe that when I die, I'm going to go up to heaven. And when I go up to heaven, I'm going to see Melissa, and Melissa is not going to be struggling with mental health. And it's going to be okay. I don't know if she's going to thank me or what, but I think it's going to be okay. I know it will be okay. So this is just a little bit of what I went through. Y'all have a pencil, pen, piece of paper, and you want to jot down my phone number. My number is 715-864-4295. You can call me. You can text me. If you want to talk about your experience, if you need somebody to chat with, it's okay. I'm here. Because there was many times that I felt like I was alone. Now, this is something that, you see police officers on the street in uniform or whatever, and they look big and bad. Ooh, that's intimidating. This is kind of the side of law enforcement we may not always hear because we don't speak publicly about it. I do. But very few of us do. That's why so many of us are dying by suicide. Because we don't talk about it. It's okay to talk about your mental health. You're not alone. Don't suffer in silence. There's so many people out there that are going through what you're going through, that have gone through what you're going through, and that want to help you, and not because they're getting paid to help you. When I was cleared for my shooting and I went back to work, there were so many strangers that came up to me and they said, "Hey, are you the cop that was in the shooting?" And I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we were praying for you at church. Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a hugger. I love hugs." And not like the guy hug, Give me a hug. But I want to read to you a piece of hate mail that I received. I received many pieces of hate mail at the police department, not signed by anybody, no return address. Pretty brave of them, huh? But my chief wouldn't let me see it right away because he knows I'm an emotional guy. I would have read this and it would have just destroyed me. So he didn't let me see it until he thought I was healthy enough to read it. It says, "Hey, to the murderer cop. What the hell is your big, strong, armed, trained, macho man bastard serving the community policeman doing shooting and murdering a 25-year-old developmentally disabled young lady in a Walmart store? Throw some socks at her or a chair or a few pillows or a bicycle or some spray or a taser. You son of a bitch, murderous cop. I hope a DUI driver shoots you." So that's one piece of hate mail that I got. Now, there were many times that I was very lucky that I wasn't arrested for drinking and driving. Because what I would do is, before I needed to go anywhere, I would stop by the local gas station and I would buy those couple cinnamon whiskey, Fireball whiskey. Those are my best friends. Cinnamon, I love cinnamon, right? I love it. So I'd buy 2 or 3 of those, and right in the parking lot, I would drink them, and I would either throw the empty containers in the back of my Hyundai Santa Fe, or threw them out the window while I was driving where I needed to be. And I rationalized that it would take me probably about 30 minutes to feel the effects of alcohol, and then by then I would be where I needed to be. That's not true. I didn't think that before my shooting, after my shooting. I thought I needed that. I'm very lucky that I wasn't arrested. More importantly, I'm very lucky that I didn't crash into somebody or take somebody's life. Getting back to suicide, sorry, I'm all over. Getting back to suicide, I easily put my gun to my head a dozen times. Easily. My duty weapon is a Glock 40 caliber Model 22. If you're not familiar with a Glock, if you remove the magazine, it'll still go bang. So what I would do is, and I did this when I was intoxicated, I'd remove the magazine, clear the chamber, take the round out, and I'd put the gun, the barrel to my temple, and I'd pull the trigger. I never thought about killing myself. I wanted to feel that metallic click. There's a metallic click when you pull the trigger of the gun, my Glock. And that's what I was doing. Sometimes I even put the barrel in my mouth, and I did that. Why? I don't know. A lot of people say maybe you were preparing to die. I don't know. But what really gets me is I wonder how many times I did that when I was so blackout drunk that I don't remember that very well. Accidentally killed myself. And that happens. I've been to many suicides like that. That could have happened to me. I could have accidentally, still would have killed myself. They would have found me. Oh, Adam was sad. He was depressed. We get it. But no, I never wanted to I'm going to read something to you. This involved my daughter at the time, if I can find it very quickly. Another example of risky and reckless behavior that I am still ashamed of today involved alcohol operating while impaired in my youngest daughter, Peyton Elizabeth. I was consuming alcohol late morning into the early afternoon and had to pick up my youngest daughter at her mother's, my ex-wife, house and take her to gymnastics. As we drove to gymnastics, I took a wrong turn and drove 21 miles out of the way. I drove for 61 miles impaired by alcohol. For 46 miles, I had my youngest daughter. She's a police officer up north. When she graduated from college, I said, honey, do you remember that? And she said, no. And I asked her if it would be okay for me to share that. She said, absolutely. It will help people. Absolutely. And my daughter, could have killed her. I didn't care. I just didn't care. I didn't care about a lot of stuff. I find it hard to believe, I can't speak for everybody obviously, but I find it hard to believe that nobody knew I was struggling. For years I did this. I think they knew, they just didn't know how to talk to me about it. So they chose not to do anything. And I get that. I used to be that guy too. I'll share one experience that I'm still ashamed for. I still pray about a lot. It involved my pastor who has passed away a couple of years ago, but I was at a wedding reception and I had a whole lot of Long Island iced tea, having a pity party for myself. So much that I couldn't stand up, so I went to the men's restroom, sat down on the toilet, shut the door, and got on Facebook. Poor me, I wish I would have called in sick, nobody understands, blah, 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 blah. Pastor Peters, James Peters, reached out and said something in support. I told him to F off. I don't remember that. I was so intoxicated, so drunk. I told my pastor. I told my pastor who burned me to F off. He's dead now. I'll see him again. And I still ask for his forgiveness. And the next morning when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, the pastor F off, I couldn't believe it. So I just want everybody to know that it's okay to talk about your mental health. If you need help, please reach out for help. If you know somebody who's struggling, please reach out to them. If you can't do a face-to-face, I get that. It can be uncomfortable, it can be awkward, but technology nowadays is great. You can send a text, you can send an email, you can call them, you can all kinds of other stuff. Probably not very savvy with, but it's okay. Reach out. Many people did that to me. Hey, Adam, I love you. I care about you. Something I look and okay, whatever. But I still knew somebody supported me. Somebody was there, and that's important. That's important. So a little plug to my police chief, Sean McGee, out of Hartford. I love that man. Not just Brown was in there, really. Because when he hired me, we were out on our lake patrol, and he said, Adam, I know how to speak out. I support you. If you want to keep doing that, you go right ahead and you can wear your uniform. The chief that terminated me was a different chief. The chief that was with me during my shooting was very supportive. His name was Al Smokowitz. And I knew he was genuine because I would hear him defend me and speak highly of me and support me when he didn't know I was there. And almost immediately he reached out to the media and said he supported me. And he said, I think he believed that he had no other choice. I support him. And when I saw that, I printed it off. I put this in a frame. And it was on my desk until I was terminated. Because when you know your boss supports you, especially when you know your chief of police supports you, you could be having a crummy day, but you know this man supports you. That's important. That's important. He really, really supported me. So I could go on and on and on. I thank you for this opportunity. I truly believe that I'm here because this is what God wants me to do. I really do. And after my shooting, I found a verse that I like. And it's from 1 John chapter 4, verse 10. It says, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. And here's the thing. If I stop being a cop tomorrow, okay. This is bigger than me. Okay? It's bigger than being a cop. It's bigger than being a captain. Although it's cool, I'm very lucky. And the only reason why I'm here today is because I finally put myself first. I finally said, you know what, Adam, you need to get the right kind of help. When I did that, I never knew I was going to be a cop again. I didn't even know if I wanted it. After I started getting the right kind of help, I realized that, you know what, I do. I have a lot of training experience. I want to be a police officer again. And luckily, Chief Sean McGee with the town of Hartford hired me. And within 6-7 months, I was promoted to captain. And I'm able to do this because of him. Support from family, friends, and even complete strangers. So thank you. I appreciate that. And if you have any questions, reach out. I'll answer anything.